Hey everybody, it's Friendly Neighborhood Game Master Zach Hall here, back with another video looking at Level Up Advanced 5th Edition from EN Publishing. If you haven't seen the intro, pretty lengthy video where I kind of go through probably like the first 100-ish pages of the rulebook for this. I don't know what it is, a separate whole game system that basically is 5th edition but adds a lot of crunch and details that I think might be interesting. Maybe somewhere between 5th edition, where like just too much, in my opinion, too much is left up to the DM to kind of create or fix through homebrew. Then like on the opposite side, Pathfinder 1st or 2nd edition, where it's really specific with a lot of rules to cover every scenario, but might not be as easy a first role-playing game for folks, or might just not enjoy that level. See if this Level Up Advanced 5e is kind of like a middle ground. I'm not sure yet. We're still looking. We're getting into a class for the first time. Decided I'm going to try to keep these short. Just jump right in to look at the Adept, which looks like the Level Up's version of a monk, but we're going to see if it removes or makes the like mystical, magical parts of what makes 5e monks. Let's see if that's optional for people who don't want like the key and like mystic aspect of a hand-to-hand melee fighter. And let's just jump right into Adept. Let's see. Living weapons and athletes train their bodies and hone their minds to perfection. Considerable mental power. Every adept has a different reason for striving towards ever greater heights of personal achievement. Be they rough pugilists used to life in the pits, religious dancers, or covert assassins, adepts all learn amazing supernatural abilities that set them apart from common warriors. Okay, so it seems like we might not be getting away from the mystical, but we might be able to like dial it back a little bit depending on what you choose. So it looks like there's an energy called focus, can be fuel for supernatural feats. In essence, it's nothing more than innate potential every living being has. Adepts channel this power within themselves to accomplish the impossible and surpass the limitations of their bodies. The art of the adept is old and personal. They're united by generations of adepts that came before them, always ready to learn and always ready to teach, for they know their craft will never survive unless more adepts are trained like they were. How did you meet your master? So master and apprentice vibes. Why did they choose to train you? What was your relationship like? Okay. How ingrained are you with the community? Have you visited other masters? Why have you chosen to walk the path to perfection? Cool. So 1d8 hit dice, and then looks like it's 1d8 plus con for hit points. No armor, simple weapons, punching daggers, new, and short swords and throwing daggers. So you're not trained in any old dagger, just punching daggers and throwing daggers. Saving throws are strength and dexterity. You pick 2 skills. Begin the game with 30 gold, which you can choose, or you can use suggested equipment, which is great. So a dungeoneering set gives you a quarterstaff and darts. An explorer's set, more expensive, but gives you a short sword. So that you then pick a type of defense. So while you're not wearing armor and not wielding a shield, AC equals 10 plus dex plus wisdom. Or you can choose to become proficient with light armor, and you replace your dexterity mod with your strength modifier for AC. So if you know the adept speed, practiced technique, or any other that has it as a requirement, you can use them while wearing light armor now. That's a cool option. I like being able to pick. Adding your wisdom, crucial for these types of classes where wisdom is probably the mod controlling focus. But if you're not wanting to lean that way and wanting to go brute, it looks like we have 2 paths. We have, like sinewy athlete with dexterity plus like the mysticism stuff powered by your wisdom, and then you have more brute stuff, which is just like being able to wear armor, even if it's just light, But being able to use your strength with it means that, like, if you wanted to just go huge beefy boy, dump dex, which is one of my probably dex might be my favorite dump stat. Like, if I've got to be bad at something, dexterity is kind of one of my favorites to do it in. Cool. So martial arts at first level, gives you mastery combat styles that use unarmed strikes and adept weapons, which are quarterstaffs, punching daggers, short swords, and any simple melee weapon that don't have two-handed or heavy property. Gain the following benefits when you are unarmed or wielding only adept weapons. You can use dexterity instead of strength for the attack and damage rolls of your unarmed strikes and adept weapons. You can roll a d4 in place of the normal damage of your unarmed strike. This die changes as you gain adept levels, as shown in the martial arts column. So it looks like it grows every... Ooh, I was about to say 4, but no. It goes to d6 at 5th, and then doesn't hit d8 till 11th, and then d10 at 16th. When you use the weapon attack with an unarmed strike, or the attack action with an unarmed strike or an adept weapon, you can make one unarmed strike as a bonus action. We hadn't even really seen this yet, so it is keeping... it is keeping the, like, action, bonus action bit from 5th edition. Not surprising. Not my fave, which is, part of the reason why I don't play 5th edition anymore. Okay, I don't really know what everything else is, but we can see features, fine. Proficiency bonus starting at 2 seems low. I thought it was that. I guess that tracks. I always think it starts at 3, but maybe it doesn't. So you don't learn a maneuver until level 2, where you gain 2, and then it looks like you get an extra one after 2 levels. And then for some reason you stick with 6 maneuvers for a while. Maybe because you get tradition feature. This kind of is a bummer right here. We got 2 levels back to back where there are no additional features. Now, like, you get an additional, it looks like you get a new focus or another focus every level. You went from 3 to 4 bonus exertion. Remember, exertion is kind of like fatigue or exhaust points in original, like in WotC 5th edition, but is used way more in level up as a balancing feature, a way to, like, let you do something that's really cool, but it's going to give you exertion or exhaustion. So I wonder if that, I would assume that probably is kind of tied in, but you don't even get an additional maneuver or like maneuver degree going from 8 to 9. So it seems like 9th level is kind of dead, and then followed up immediately 10th is kind of dead too. Things that have been going up are going up, but nothing really major. You get a new technique basically at level 10. That just kind of stinks. Like, 2 dead levels with 0 new features feels really bad, especially for me coming from, like, thinking about things like Pathfinder, where you got new feats coming all the time. Now it could be like there might be an ancestry feat or something like that that I'm not aware of, just because I'm not super used to this system, still learning, like, looking at it for the first time. 2 dead levels feels bad. Not uncommon, just stinks. So you learn combat maneuvers at 2nd level. So really, man, 1st level is literally just picking out your defense, and then the fact that you can use all this stuff for all this, like, monk stuff for attacks. That also feels bad. I mean, that's the basics of monk and adeptness. It just feels bad that, like, really nothing really comes online, the cool stuff, until level 2, which is often why, like, if more than half the party has played 5th edition before, I skipped level 1. Too many things don't come online until level 2, sometimes even level 3. So if I had my way, I would do 1 session at level 2 as almost an intro. Really easy way to get, like, people onboarded, figure out character sheet, like, figure out party dynamics, like, get jumped into the mission, and then no matter what happens, everybody levels up to level 3 at the end of that first session and really gets going at level 3. It seems like that adepts come online at 2. So you gain proficiency in 2 combat traditions, and then you learn 2 maneuvers of your choice from traditions that you are proficient with. So 2 combat traditions and 2 maneuvers, 2 maneuvers each. So and then you gain an exertion pool equal to twice your proficiency bonus, regaining any spent exertion at the end of a short or long rest. You use your maneuvers by spending points from your exertion pool. Okay, so exertion pool is, I guess, what they're that's the resource. Oh, and then you get bonus. Okay, so you have exertion, which is twice your proficiency, which is not represented as a column on this. Always blah. But then in order to make their math work, they've had to add this bonus exertion, which is not always it's not linear. It's just for a couple levels you gain 1 additional exertion. At level 6 you get 2, but then at level 7 you get 3, and you're at 3 for a couple levels. That always, I mean, maybe crazy. To me, it just kind of seems like, oh, like our math didn't really add up, so we had to like tack something on at the end of it to try to like make it feel better. Maneuvers known column of the Adept table shows you when you learn more maneuvers from a tradition you are proficient with, while the maneuver degree column shows the highest degree you can select maneuvers from at a given level. Additionally, whenever you learn a new maneuver, you can choose one of the maneuvers you know and replace it with a and then as an Adept, you gain +1 to your maneuver DC. Exertion focus. At second level, your training allows you to harness your mental energy into a supernatural state of focus. Some cultures refer to this energy, okay, I'm not gonna like offend anybody, but by mispronouncing those words, sorry, I don't know them. Your access to this energy is represented by your exertion pool. You can spend exertion points to fuel various focus features. You start knowing 3: flurry of blows, long step, and patient defense. You learn more focus features as you gain levels in this class. A focus save is 8 plus your proficiency bonus plus your wisdom modifier. So these are just focus features. Flurry of blows. Immediately after you take your attack action on your turn, you can spend 1 exertion to make 2 unarmed attacks as a bonus action instead of 1. Long step. You can spend 1 exertion to take the disengage or dash action as a bonus action, and your jump distance is doubled for the turn. Patient defense, you can spend 1 exertion to take the dodge action as a bonus action on your turn. Those are all like basically monk stuff from 5th edition, except instead of using key points, they're using this exertion. This feels bad. Okay, these are focus features, which you get at 3rd level. Those are all focus features, not combat maneuvers or combat traditions. Are combat maneuvers something that's available to everybody or like multiple classes, so it's put somewhere else? So combat traditions are the basic disciplines of fight. I mean, like, okay, this makes sense. It just, they don't tell you anywhere in the Adept book, like even a page number, like check out page 456 for more on combat maneuvers. Okay, so to use a combat maneuver, you must expend exertion points. You have a maximum number of exertion points equal to double your proficiency bonus. So this is something multiple classes are getting access to, which is, I mean, cool, but it seems weird that some of this material is repeated in the Adept class features, and then some of it is stored here in chapter 9 or past page 450 in the book, 300 pages later. But the Adept class doesn't mention this. It assumes that you know that combat maneuvers is something outside of the class itself, but you wouldn't know that if you're reading it sequentially. Like, I know that game developers and writers have to make certain assumptions about the reader, but why would one of your assumptions be whoever's running the game, the narrator, already knows all of this information? And so the narrator isn't going to just jump into looking at classes. It just feels like, I don't know, it feels really bad. It feels like an editor or someone should have said, we need to include page numbers for these types of things. Feels like a miss, a big miss, if I'm being honest. Like, I know it doesn't mess up what the actual, like, how the game is played, but if I decided I want to run level up, I was like, hey, this seems really cool. Let's try it, even just for a 1-shot. And I told my players, oh, the Adept is like the monk with like access to way more stuff. Would you want to play it? And a player said, yeah, and just jumped in and started reading the Adept, but there was no reference. Like, I couldn't just give my player the chapter on the Adept, because the chapter on the Adept, the section on the Adept, doesn't have any references to like stuff that they need that's outside of their section. Sorry, I'm getting frustrated on something that, like, I'm sure most people are like, yeah, it's not a big deal. But like accessibility and writing and laying out all this stuff is hugely important. So from my experience, most game developers, writers, editors, whoever's in charge of these types of things, the assumption is that a person has never played a role-playing game before, has never opened a rule book before, which is why most books, all good ones, have sections about like what is role-playing and like how to do role-playing well, talking about safety at the table. This just screams like we had our nose too far in the system, and nobody on the team caught that. Like everybody on the team knows about combat maneuvers and what they are, and that they're in chapter 9. They weren't appropriately taking a newbie's first time reader's point of view. And now it makes sense. Okay, so there's a maneuver DC, but apparently adepts get an automatic +1 to this too, which seems bad. Like in 5th edition, +1 doesn't mean that much, but now they got to keep track of an additional. Just seems rough. So going back to exertion pools, you regain any spent exertion points at the end of a short or long rest, and alternatively you can try to meditate, refocus, stretch to refill your exertion pool more quickly. You can expend hit dice to do so, recovering 1d4 exertion point for each hit dice spent. The process takes 1 minute per expended hit dice. I do love using hit die as a resource. I've seen it done poorly in 5th edition implements, but this seems like an appropriate way, especially because you are actually doing something physical in order to regain something physical, which is what hit dice are supposed to represent, like a type of like natural rest and healing to recover the not key term, like the exhaustion, the soreness, the weakness, the tiredness that hit points are meant to represent, along with like actual like physical damage, cuts, bruises, blah blah blah. But so this is a good, like, the fiction matches the mechanic here of expending a hit dice, and no matter how big your hit dice is, you recover 1d4 exertion points. I like it a lot. Then basic maneuvers: disarm, grab on, grapple, knockdown, overrun. That's fun. And then you have all of these combat maneuvers. Holy shit. But then you only get to pick maneuvers from what do we call it? Wait, are these just ones? I don't know. I know Mirror's Glint was on the list of traditions. So okay, Mirror's Glint maneuvers. At its heart, combat is a dance between opponents, and practicing the Mirror's Glint tradition means reading, interpreting, and anticipating one's foe. Using instinct and your instinct from battles won and lost. Instinct and insight. I was like, that didn't make sense. You're excellent at reacting to an enemy in order to gain the upper hand. So for a point of is that what it's called? First degree, unpredictable maneuvering puts your opponent off balance. When you connect with your weapon, they stumble and fall. When you activate this maneuver, you take the attack action as a part of the maneuver and make a melee weapon attack as part of the maneuver, as well as any additional attacks granted by extra attack. Nice. Until the start of your next turn, when you hit with a melee weapon attack against a creature and deal 8 or more damage, it makes a dexterity saving throw or is knocked prone. So the way I read that, it's not a total up until the turn. Like once you hit 8, it is if you do a single attack at any point between now when you start the maneuver and the start of your next turn, if a singular one of your weapon attacks does 8 or more damage, dexterity saving throw. Leading throw: an opponent that strikes at you invites peril as they find the momentum from there. When a creature within your reach misses with a melee attack, you can use your reaction to try to throw it. When a creature within your reach misses you with a melee weapon attack, you can use your reaction to try to throw the creature. That's cool. Okay, I'm not gonna read all of these. This layout sucks. Not a huge fan. I mean, I think these are really cool. Like, this is access to a lot of stuff. I don't know. Okay, let's go back to the Adept now, knowing. So you get combat maneuvers. So you use the ability, you gain proficiency in 2 combat traditions, and then you learn 2 maneuvers of your choice from traditions you are proficient with. I think so. You pick 2 combat traditions, but you only get to pick 2 maneuvers. So 1 and 1 or 2 and none. Why is this listed under combat maneuvers? I mean, yes, as a combat maneuver, but then there was that whole list. I wonder if there must be a class that just gets access to combat maneuvers, but not fighting traditions, combat traditions. I don't know. It's a little messy. I think things are named too similarly to really understand what's going on. Monks are gonna have sorry, I keep saying monk. Adepts have a lot going on, which is good, but you've got at level, you're gonna have flurry of blows, long stat, patient defense. You're gonna have at level 3, you're gonna have 2 additional maneuvers. Wait, practiced technique and a focus feature. Really cool. I can't tell if I can't spend the time. This video is already almost half an hour. I can't take the time. Like I can't read all of these. I would if I was playing it, but I'm not. Some of these obviously look very similar to what happens in 5th edition. I don't have enough to really know if it's balanced. Let's look at these archetypes to figure out like when does an archetype come into play? Adept archetype at level 3. When you reach 3rd level, you commit yourself to an Adept archetype, a specialization that defines how you train your body to perfection. Your tradition grants you features at 3rd, 6th, 11th, and 17th. More stuff. So at Brawler, most Adepts find intellectual and spiritual knowledge an important part of their studies. That's not the case for Brawlers. These Adepts are only concerned about fighting and winning, which not only makes them tougher than their peers, but also more versatile and unpredictable. Love that. This is exactly the type of Adept I would want to play. It's the type of monk I always wanted to play in 5th edition, but it just makes it difficult. Screw the like mystical stuff, just give me muscles and the ability to like be hard to hit hard, maybe just not a ton of like utility. So at starting with 3rd level, everything can be a weapon. You are proficient with improvised weapons. When you hit a target with an improvised weapon, you can spend an exertion to deal additional damage equal to your martial arts die, or use a basic maneuver against the same target. Okay, there's those basic maneuvers again. So you just, whenever you get access to common maneuvers in general, you can also do any of the basic maneuvers. We're getting to like druid spell level things to track. No cell at 6th level. When you're hit by a melee attack, you can use your reaction to spend 1 exertion point and reduce the impact after damage is determined, including resistances. You can roll your martial arts die and reduce the damage suffered by that amount. Martial arts die level 6 is a d6. An exertion for shrugging off an average of 3.5 is technically the average, but like knowing not 6 damage every time seems low. Depending on who you're fighting. Like I think this works really well if you're doing, you know, 6 combats in an adventuring day and fighting a ton of mooks in a like small battle. Not useful if you're fighting a legendary creature that you and your party are teamed up on, who might be dealing like 30 damage in once. Unpredictable style at 11th level. You can approach problems from unforeseen angles using somewhat brutal solutions to get the job done swiftly if messily. When you make an ability check that could use a skill or tool you're not proficient with, you can roll your martial arts die and add it to that check. On a success, you can't use this feature again with the same ability until you finish a short or long rest. On a failure, you fall prone and roll your martial arts die again, taking damage equal to that amount. You should just take the damage of whatever was on that first martial arts die roll. Don't roll it a second time. Added complication that isn't necessary. Just take the damage of whatever you rolled on the martial arts die. That's fine. Cool flavor, and probably feels good to when actually in game, but like isn't like knocking me over with utility. Unrelenting, 17th level, nothing can stop you. When you're dropped to 0 hit points, you roll your martial art dice and you recover that many hit points and lose that much exertion. Wow. I mean, at that point you're having pools of like 20 plus points. Well, maybe not that much. Anyway, you almost kind of want to roll low there, right? Like you just want to pop back up. The difference in rolling 1 hit points and 8 hit points is probably not that much if you went down, because at 17th level if you go down, you're going down under extraordinary circumstances, probably not because, you know, a goblin stabbed you with their dagger and did a d4 plus 4. You want to roll low on unrelenting, probably because you can just get up and either do some healing yourself with a potion or some other class feature, because there's some probably self-healing buried somewhere in all this stuff. And then once you've regained, you can't use it again until you finish a short long rest. Cool. And then you have Exalted Athlete, which is like more athletic, personal, blah blah blah. Then you have a Warrior Monk, which is definitely on the mystical side. Okay, the Adept. I think the Adept fills a lot of fantasy, different fantasies without having obvious features. Most Adepts are going to look the same, but the archetypes at 3rd level does do a good job of just changing the narrative a little bit to help people create the type of warrior that they were looking for, especially that level 1 defense choice. Also a huge help, and just helping get people, even at low levels, creating the type of character that they want to create with a lot of flexibility. Because of so many combat traditions with combat maneuvers inside of those, and then possibly basic combat maneuvers. That was a huge list. I still don't, my frustration reading the Adept more falls on the editing team and not creating clear through lines to other important pieces of content to know what the Adept does by pointing people in the correct direction. 0 sidebars in this outside of the fiction on page 1 of the class description. That's a miss for me. When if I was going to grade not just the system, but like the actual editing and accessibility of the PDF, it's a huge miss to me that classes don't have reference numbers to other things that are important and explaining what they do, or a sidebar that says you can learn more about combat maneuvers in chapter 9. There's some really unclear language around combat maneuvers where just a couple more words would help create clarity. Like, do I get 2 maneuvers per, like, why am I picking 2 combat traditions and 2 maneuver, but only 2 maneuvers? I can't pick 2 from each. To me, it makes more sense that you should just get 1 combat tradition and maybe add a second or more as you level up. That feels bad. So I want to say I like the Adept from a fiction standpoint, but I will admit that I do not fully understand all of the features that the Adept has access to, and how that would play out at the table with a new player, which is how I'm kind of approaching it. Like, is this an alternative? Is Level Up Advanced 5th Edition an alternative to playing something crunchier like Pathfinder 2nd Edition for brand new players to the hobby, keeping some of the very easy on-ramp for 5th edition, while alleviating some of these undue stress and responsibility the DM has to fix the problems that 5th edition has? I can't really answer that question with the Adept because the book isn't laid out really well and doesn't have all the information that I really need. And if you have to explain it in the comments to this video, it's not done well. So, and maybe I'm skipping over something that I'm supposed to, but like, to me, combat maneuvers should tell me exactly what I should know, and it doesn't. I don't know, like, I don't know if I have to, if 2 maneuvers are like, I could pick 1 from my tradition and 1 from the basic list. Is that how it works? Now I say it out loud, that makes the most sense, but I have no idea because there's no clarity around it. Sorry, I'm harping on that point. It's just important. Someone from Ian Publishing is watching this. Let me know if that was intended or just a miss, and I'm being obtuse for no reason. So thanks for watching. I'll continue doing these. I probably won't do every class. That seems unnecessary. I'll pick out a couple that I am interested in. I'll try to run the breadth of doing melee, like combat-oriented weapon users to more utility. I'll probably do, I'm interested in the Herald, which I think is Level Up's version of the Paladin and Champion. I will always look at a Wizard. I'll probably take a look at a Sorcerer type for a different kind of spell casting. And then if there's any like really brand new classes that are implementing a brand new fantasy that doesn't exist in 5th edition, I'll take a look at that too. So thanks for watching. If you liked this video, leave a like. If you have some thoughts yourself about the Adept or Level Up in general, let me know in the comments. And if you're looking forward to more videos like this, or the series I'm doing concurrently with this one about Monster of the Week from Evil Hat, why not subscribe? I'm on a roll on these. They might drop off at any point, but I'm enjoying looking. I really enjoy reading new books, talking about my thought process out loud. I think it's the only unique thing that I bring to the table. So I hope you enjoy. Get subscribed if this is your type of content. Anyway, we'll be back next week with more videos from Level Up and Monsters of the Week. Talk to you then. Peace.